In the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you what you should think about Attack on Titan and its ending. That is up for you to decide. I just did not like it. So if you liked it, that's perfectly fine. Come up with your own ending, I guess. Bye. That final chapter. It turned this amazingly great story about freedom and just wrecked it. It downgraded Eren from probably one of the greatest protagonists in all of fiction into a joke. A literal joke. This was legendary storytelling. It could have been a legendary story for decades to come. It would have been taught in English schools for God knows how long. Like 1984? What is that? We read Attack on Titan up in here. But no. Apparently, this final chapter destroyed the possibility of that ever happening. Because it turns out all of Eren's motives, his ideology, everything he fought for was non-existent. At first, we thought he was doing this for the sake of the Eldians who were oppressed by even other Eldians. All the Eldians on Paradise Islands who were treated horribly and people were prepared to kill. He hated how people were treating the Eldians who included him. And he wanted them to be free. He was going to destroy Marley, his true enemy, who he figured out was after he discovered the Titans were not his enemy. He transferred all the hate for his Titans and multiplied it for his true enemies, who he figured out were the cause of all this nonsense. We figured out, he was going to destroy the Eldian. He was going to destroy Marley and all those countries who stood by and watched, not caring what happened to the Eldians. And the Eldians who were in those countries because they refused to fight back and take control. When back in season 3, Eren saw what happened to his country and he overthrew it. So he got mad that these Eldians did not overthrow their own insaneness. So he was willing to become a villain and commit partial omnicide, which I did not completely agree with at first, but I still, nevertheless, completely understood where he was coming from, which is what a great character is. But this chapter starts off with Armin in a parallel world or dream world or, I don't know, talking to Eren. So at first I'm like, okay. But then, it turns out that Eren tells him that he had no idea what was going on. That he was not free and he knew he was being controlled by something that we don't get the answer to. So that Cutting Ties chapter, where he knew Armin was smarter than him and Misaka was stronger than him, so he beats up Armin and argues with Misaka, which was pretty smart at first, but no. When he calls them slaves, it turns out that he was just a hypocrite. The biggest one. He said all of that. All of it. Just the biggest one. Because that's it. He knew he was being controlled at that moment. He knew he was being controlled the whole time. But he didn't care. He still said that with his free will right there and then. And then the ending, especially messed up. Because we figured out that Ymir, who at first people thought was a wonderful and great female character, none of that. The mentality of a slave but the power of a god and did nothing because of that, none of that. She did all of it because, quote unquote, she loves King Fritz. She was not in the pain of the shackles, the mental shackles of being a slave. No, she was in the pain of being in love with that dude somehow. Let me just go over what she did to him, what he did to her again. Let's see. That's right. Killed her family, burned down her village, cut off her tongue, made her a slave, and then threw her into a death game because she probably was the one who freed a pig. She loves that guy, apparently. Yeah. It also turns out the time loop theory ain't true, which I'm kind of happy with because I didn't really like that time loop, the whole Eren trying to free them from an infinite loop. It made no sense to me, but hey, it would have been a way better ending than what we got right here. Instead, it turned out that he was doing the Zero Requiem, which a lot of people thought he was going to do, but apparently he did a pretty bad version of it, because his end goal was insane. It made no sense. None. Mostly because he had the audacity to say to Armin's face, how could he not be seen as saviors to all members of society? Which makes no sense, because he tried to commit omnicide, and I'm pretty sure the world isn't going to be so happy about Eren's comrades and friends being around, even if they are the ones who killed him. Then Eren, all teary-eyed, apologizing. By the way, this takes place a couple hours before the final fight, so he could have just stopped, but nah. He just teary-eyed apologizing and saying, the future and past were all mixed up, so I had clouded judgment, you know? And then Armin just completely understands. He's like, yeah, that makes sense, the ceremony or whatever. They keep acting like he's still somehow a tragic hero. That he's still somehow an anti-hero. That he's still somehow just a great, tragic character. But no, he's not. He's just doing bad things because he doesn't know why. Which, I think we have a word for that. It escapes me at the moment. Also, it turns out he killed his mom. He just killed his mom. And we just scroll past that like he didn't just admit to being a wannabe slasher villain. Like, they just one panel, they just say it and move on. Acting like this wasn't Eren's motivation up till the time skip. His driving force. All that time, the thing that sparked all of this. Nah, he did it. He started all of this. Yeah. That makes no sense whatsoever. Also, Eren's really weird incel moment. Yeah, that happened. Which also makes no sense. Because apparently he loves Misaka, which... Okay, that makes no sense. Because Ishiyama admitted that Misaka was supposed to be a mother figure to Eren, and at some point he was gonna grow independent from her, which was the cutting ties chapter when he punched Armin and argued with Misaka. But apparently not. He just loved her, and he's doing this so that he can make her life better by... How does he do that again? Oh yeah, that's right. By ruining her life. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. And then we leave the dream world. Acting like Eren is still somehow the carrier of freedom, even though he's being controlled this whole time. And Ymir was, I don't know. And we wake up to figure out that the war has ended a few moments ago, and Armin is awake. Oh, and also that thing disappeared that Armin was fighting, that Reiner was fighting. Oh my god, this fucking pisses me off. Also, it turns out that Eren just wanted to hang out with his friends and not die, which was an option for, let's see, all the way until he started the rumbling, which at first we thought, okay, he had to do this. He could see the future. He knows this is the only way it could work out, but nah. He did it because he was rash. He couldn't even see the future anymore once he got whatever was happening to him. And then he starts bragging that he turned the world into an empty sheet. Yeah. By stomping on it and destroying it. And then when Armin questions him about it, he says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I did it." And then, when the war ends, well, I mean, a few moments ago, but hey, Misaka is sad. They're both sad about Eren. Everybody is sad about Eren because they all get their own memories apparently, and they all just love him. Like not a single person's like, wait, what? Not a single person. The only good moment in this chapter is with Levi, who salutes his dead comrades. You know, that's nice. Along with the best character, Hans. And also Sartra's there. So that's something. Oh, and then we get this scene mirroring the first arc where Armin uses his words to protect all the Eldians. In chapter 11 when he uses his words to protect Eren against the soldiers. Then we skip 3 years later. And here's just... And 3 years later, that's just like concrete how horrible of a chapter this is. Because it turns out the Jaegerists, who were being influenced and inspired by Eren, who has no idea why he was being influenced and inspired, are still around. They took over the government and military, which the main group is just okay with for some reason. And they're trying to wage war against the entire world, even though they're 100 years behind on technology. So I wonder how that's going to end. And they frame this like alt-right Nazi-esque takeover where the Jaegers are in this endless war where it will not stop until one side is completely eradicated. I wonder why that sounds familiar. This Nazi-esque war thing going on. I used to think this article was insane until this final chapter. Apparently they have a prophet on their team. Who knows? So anyway, this Nazi-esque government that the Jaegers took over is now gonna get completely decimated. And, because the entire world hates them after the attempted omnicide thing. And then we cut over to the main group. We just acted that's just a totally normal thing. Yisham has some weird ideas in his head, I guess, but then we cut to the main gang who are working easy jobs and normal lives over at the capital, living it all easy. And they're just acting like the whole dedicate your hearts to save humanity. Like the Jaegers aren't about to wipe out themselves and all the Eldians. They're just ignoring that apparently. And Reiner's on some weird stuff. So it turns out... And also Misaka is still depressed. So yeah. Some Ymir stuff, I guess. So in the end, no one is happy. Nothing is solved. Things got worse since Eren started the rumbling, which we did not think that's how it would end. So in the end of the day, we thought this was going to be a story about spinning Beyblades, fighting people. Then it turned into a beautiful story about freedom. And then the last chapter turned it into a slave working with another slave, all being controlled by this one slave who helped control this one slave and to give them the power to control a bunch of other slaves, and then killing billions of people, and then nobody caring, and then idealizing that one slave. Because that makes perfect sense. It really does, I guess. So I guess the end theme of Attack on Titan used to be freedom. Now, this final chapter is free will is a joke and freedom is for suckers, I guess.